and they have defined this as the American family cannot afford economically to eat organically, and we, as the opposition, accept this, and the weighing mechanism was more true to both, and we accept this too. So we're going to go ahead and get right into some of the contentions that they brought up. The first thing that we talked about today was the double cost of organic food, and with that we agree that organic food does cost quite a bit of money. However, we're going to look at the affordability as the economic terms have been described a little bit more in depth. We talk about affordability, we see that we are paying maybe at face value a little bit more for that farmer's market tomato compared to the tomato that you might buy at Walmart. Might be a little bit cheaper, or say that double cheeseburger is, like Walmart. That double cheeseburger is only $1, whereas eating healthy, the cost of a nice salad might cost like $4 or $5. And we understand that, but we'd like to point out a couple of things. First of all, we have the main issue we talked about a couple of weeks ago. I can't remember which week it was and what speaker, but I know we talked about it. The hidden costs and the hidden taxes and hidden tariffs of the food that you buy, especially like some of the issues we talked about. We're not going over the corn policy case, but I'm going to bring up the corn. We subsidize and tax a lot of different aspects of, we subsidize a lot of different aspects of corn, and we feed that to our animals, and in the long run, that ends up costing you more tax dollars. And I know recently we just had, tax day, we all filed our taxes. I owe money. I'm sure some of you did. I hope not a lot of you, and I hope not too much, but I owe money. And those taxes come out of our income. They come out of some of our property taxes, actually. If you look line by line, we're getting charged for food out of our property taxes, too. The taxes that you pay if you were to go to Walmart, those taxes, you're getting taxed constantly by our government. And those, after all, are hidden taxes and hidden tariffs that will come back to hit you. So in the long run, it is more affordable for you to hit those farmers markets, because not only is it cheaper without the hidden taxes and hidden tariffs, but you are supporting your local economy, which in the end makes you benefit. In supporting your local economy will support the overall economy, and then prices will come down, and things will be cheaper, and you will be better off, and I'll be better off, and we'll all be better off. Something they brought up also, I understand unemployment is skyrocketing, and again, I'm just going to point back that by supporting your farmer's market, your local economy grows. Maybe your farmer's market will need to hire a few helping hands, and I'm sure there's not a position we wouldn't take if we were jobless. Everyone wants a job, someone to bring home a paycheck, and by supporting your local economy, you will actually create jobs in the long run, which will help with the unemployment. They talked about the cost-benefit issues. Cost-benefit is one of those debate terms, and we're going to bring up that, we are offering a certain cost, and it may be a little bit more expensive, but let's look at the benefits. One of the things our speakers brought up was that if you were to buy a tomato at, not Walmart, but another big box place, another store, and you were to buy that and compare it to the nutritional value of a tomato at your farmer's market, you are sometimes getting 3 times to 10 times as much nutrition in a single tomato than you would at the big box Walmart-like store that is not Walmart. And I'll take your question in just a second. You were getting all that much more nutrition for a slightly more price, but what we're really looking for is quality. Yes?
What a clarification or information. You asserted that I would get 10 times more nutritional value from an organic tomato. Do you have evidential proof of this, or are you just making this up?
This was actually something we covered in the speaker series. I think it was the second week we were here. It was the woman who had all the colorful beans? Yeah. Yes. Okay. And she talked about how the tomato and the nutritional value was better, and we are drawing our conclusions off of the educated speaker that we were all here listening to. So again, we're really hitting this aspect of quality over quantity of dollars. So we are becoming more healthy, and health is obviously something we have to afford. We cannot afford not to afford our health, because in the long run, we are what we are. We need health and nutrition to be substantial. We talked about the family unit and how we cannot afford as a family to buy organically, but you want to raise healthy children, correct? So maybe that little bit extra money is capable for adding that extra nutrition towards your child. You want a smart child, you want a healthy child, you want a child you don't have to take to the doctors. And so these are all things we must take into account when we look at the economic affordability and what is really affordable. And I will take your third of 27 questions.
Are you suggesting that I can increase my child's IQ by feeding them organic food?
Well, there has been correlation with nutrition. Obviously, if you raise a healthy child, I'm not necessarily saying it would be IQ, but healthier children are happier children, and they tend to typically do better in school, but I have no evidence, no substantial proof for that at the moment. So I will point that out, that I do not have substantial evidence, but it is common knowledge that healthy children are happier children, and sometimes happier children are smarter children. And with that, I can see the rest of my time, and I urge a opposition bill.
Okay, we will now recognize the member of government in their 8-minute constructive argument.
I remind you of today's resolution put forward by the government. The resolution is the American family today. We're not talking about 10 years ago when we might have been in a gold rush and we could afford organic foods. We're not talking about 10 years from now when we've fully recovered economically and American families might be able to afford organic food. We're talking about the American family today. And we are saying that the American family today cannot afford financially to do the choice of buying organic food. They might agree that it's best. They might agree that it would give them a marginal benefit in terms of their health. They might agree that it would give marginal benefit in terms of nutrition. They might agree it would be better for the environment in some way. They simply can't afford it. There are many good things in the world that we all might like to do, and we simply are unable to do so. That statement is more true than false, and that is our weighing mechanism today. I remind you of the heart of our argument, a personal story. My wife and I made a resolution at New Year's, and it's, I think, the first New Year's resolution we've kept, that we would make every attempt this year to buy organic. We were finally persuaded. And we found that it's become very expensive for us to do. And so now every week when I go to the grocery store, I find it a whole lot more in terms of my budget. And there are days that I wonder if I can afford it because I have children in college. I have a disabled son who requires care. And the stress on my family does not make it easy for me to do what I would like to do. Let's talk about the benefit. I really want to emphasize that the opposition underestimated the cost and over-exaggerated the benefits that would come. With their exaggerated claims that it would improve IQ, that it would make people a great deal more healthy. Think about it this way. Suppose I want to buy a pair of jeans. So I go down, I can get this pair of jeans at Target for 20 bucks, or I can get a slightly better pair of jeans at Neiman Marcus for 50 bucks. The additional benefit, the added value, is what economists would call marginal utility. And the marginal utility is so small that it simply doesn't justify the worth of my being able to spend that. So, to reiterate our arguments, we believe that the American family, we don't believe, it's a true fact, that for the American family today, it is simply too expensive. That given the economic times today and the stress on many families, it is simply too expensive. Given the marginal benefit, it is simply too expensive. I also think that we were dragged off topic by some issues that the opposition brought up. For example, the issue of government subsidy. What does government subsidy have to do? I recognize your question. I recognize the honorable gentleman from momentarily, sir. What does government subsidy or lack of subsidy for organic foods have to do with my personal budget? That's an interesting root cause of why I might pay double for organic produce and organic eggs and organic milk. But there's nothing I can do about that. And so to raise an issue like that is an interesting sociological comment, an interesting economic and governmental regulatory question, but not one that has any impact whatsoever. It helps me understand why it costs me more. It doesn't make the food any more affordable.
I recognize.
So you bring up the idea of cost benefit, and we're seeing from the government side the idea of cost